Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Under the Scope, a podcast where we delve into European cinema. This week, we're going to be peeling back the layers of Stephen Frear's Dirty Pretty Things, a film that takes us into the gritty underbelly of London, revealing the lives of the unseen and the unheard. Today, I'm joined by my two co-hosts.
Hi, I'm Romeo.
And hi, I'm Raid. So, as Sean said, we're going to be talking about Dirty Pretty Things, specifically how it uses its narrative about the organ trafficking of migrant bodies to explore themes of exploitation and survival.
Also, guys, last week's podcast was definitely on the long side. We kind of got carried away, so this week we decided to each bring forward a question and we're going to discuss them. But just to start, does anyone have any initial thoughts?
Yeah. Hi, guys. What do you think about the title?
Okay, so the title is literally only 3 words and it manages to encapsulate the key issues and also the struggles of the film. Firstly, the juxtaposition of dirty and pretty really highlights the difference between the awful reality of exploitation and this false, superficial allure of opportunity that gets presented, while dirty is referring to the bleak and degrading sides of society, which are typically hidden from public view, focusing mainly on the marginalized realities of undocumented immigrants who are constantly being exploited, but also prostitution and poverty. Also, then I was thinking about pretty is about the idealized aspects of society, the facade, the things that appear attractive or desirable on the surface, with the hotel being quite glamorous. It has a doorman and nice decor, but the reality of what's going on inside couldn't be further from that.
Yeah, to me, the use of the words dirty and pretty, you called it a juxtaposition. Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. Those are 2 words that should be at odds with each other. It's an oxymoron. And it serves to show how society has worked to pretty up the dirty, unseen aspects of service workers and their exploitation under a capitalist society. When you pair those words up with the word things, it adds this layer of fetishization and dehumanization. You know, these migrant bodies, they are things. Yeah, I'm afraid I don't have much else to say, but going off that, I think I might as well just ask my question first, which is pretty general, just to get us started. How does the film depict the exploitation of migrant bodies?
So, firstly, it uses the illegal organ trade as a powerful metaphor to explore the exploitation of migrant bodies. The film draws attention to the dehumanization of undocumented immigrants. The 2 main characters, they're both desperate to gain legal citizenship and are practically forced into the illegal trafficking ring, which operates in the shadows of a luxury hotel, offering desperate individuals the promise of forged passports in exchange for their kidneys. Also, the commodification of undocumented immigrants is made abundantly clear in this film. The fact that they're working and living in London illegally means that whatever they do, they need to remain invisible. And in this film, we see that it's their vulnerability and desperation to gain citizenship which makes them exceptional targets. For example, in Okway's case, Juan, who knows about his medical background, leveraged that knowledge to leave him with no choice but to become involved in the trade. By exploiting his skills and illegal status, he manipulates him into participating, knowing that his lack of legal protection and also this sense of responsibility that he has as a doctor to make sure that people aren't being operated on recklessly makes it basically impossible for him to refuse.
Okay, right. In my opinion, one of the most striking aspects of the movie is how it uses the setting of a hotel to symbolize exploitation. Now, when we think of hotels, we usually think of the warm, welcoming space, right? Instead, in the film, the hotel turns into a hub for hiding capitalism. From my research, the hotel reflects capitalism in a really unique way. Firstly, the hotel provides a service like clean up messes, making things look nice, but beneath the surface it hides something much darker. A space where the bodies or migrants literally becomes currency. Their labor or even their organs are used, their precious, very lives remain invisible to the world. Another big theme that we notice is the thematic challenge for this whole setup. Migrants in this movie aren't just helpless victims. They are particularly in a complicated system, selling the organs due to the exploitation. But here's the health-broken part. Even after they got their thing will help them, like fake passport, as these passports are like a mask, providing illusion or equality or freedom.
Yeah, thanks so much. That's really, really interesting. Does anyone want to go next?
Yeah, hi guys. For my question, for signing another in the film, giving up an organ is sacrifice for a better future. How does this product that survive requires giving up a part of oneself highlight the dehumanizing affection or systemic option?
Well, in Shania's case, the fact that she seriously contemplates giving up an organ in exchange for passport, like a chance for freedom, shows just how subjugated these individuals are. It really highlights the extreme sacrifices that they're forced to consider simply to achieve basic human rights. She's also already vulnerable, not just as a migrant, but also as a woman. She's facing layers of exploitation from those who hold power over her. And the idea that she must give up part of herself to obtain basic security illustrates how systematic oppression strips individuals of their agency, leaving them with impossible choices. It's a cruel reflection of a world that sees marginalized people not as whole, complex individuals, but literally just as resources to be used and discarded. The organ trade transforms their bodies into currency, as you were talking about, and the fact that so many undocumented immigrants are so willing to undergo like this extremely risky surgery, sacrifice their humanity, all just for a chance at a better life, highlights the complete absence of legal protections, economic opportunities, and access to healthcare facilities for these migrants. In this way, the British government willingly offers migrants no choice but to submit to these exploitative systems.
Yeah, I love that you called it a survival like paradox. And what I find so potent about that is that it's happening in a modern day Britain. This idea that you have to give up parts of yourself, like literal physical parts of yourself, to survive London, it sounds wrong because, what do you mean people are being dehumanized and exploited in this first world metropolis?
Okay, you didn't know people sold their organs.
Not here.
What do you mean, here? Here in London? You think it doesn't happen because the Queen doesn't approve?
I find it interesting that Oakway is so surprised by and so against the entire organ trafficking ring. But when you think about it, what he's doing to survive is like just as dehumanizing and just as dangerous. He's forced to work multiple jobs and chew on those plants to stay awake. And Gao Yi rightfully tells him that if he keeps on living like this, Oakway is going to kill himself. And initially, it's similar for Shania. We see that she is forced to seek refuge, which is, she's forced to seek the state of being safe or sheltered in a sweatshop, which are exploitative by nature. And then after she's sexually assaulted, forced to comply with her boss for the sake of survival, it's then that Shania is extremely eager to give up an organ for the sake of a better future. She recognizes she's had to give up her body in order to survive the system before, so she's kind of reached a point of what does it matter now that she's giving up literal physical parts of her body?
Also, guys, just on the trade, I was thinking about the initial kind of like major conflict when he finds the heart in the toilet, and I was wondering about if you guys have any thoughts on the deep meaning of the symbols of the clogged toilet and the heart in the film. Does it reflect society's indifference to the value of life of individuals at the bottom?
Yeah, let's talk about the toilet scene. At first glance, it seems ordinary glow toilet, but in the film, reasons something much deeper. Think about it, the toilet at the hiding part of our lives, critically dealing with the waste so we don't have to. Society treats most vulnerable migrant and low-wage workers in the same way. Their work is intentional, yet that extent is ignored, only noise when things go wrong. Now let's move to the heart, a symbol of life and humanity rights. But here is removed, discovered, and end up clothing the toilet, treated like trash. That's her measure for some life or value in this system. A migrant sells their heart for a fake passport, trading part of their body for survival and hope. But passport doesn't bring real freedom, only more rejection by society. This is asks a tough question: how many people are invisible in our world? Migrant and low-income workers keep everything running smoothly, and their sacrifice hiding their struggle is great. And the claw heart in the toilet is a powerful symbol, a warning that if they continue to devalue and ignore these people, the whole system could be cope.
Yeah, you basically like said everything that I kind of think about that scene. So I want to push back a bit and just talk about the scene prior to it, the conversation between Juliet and Okwe. I find the dialogue in that scene to be so clever. I'm going to insert a clip of it here.
Right. Oh, yeah. You might want to send someone to check on the room.
There is a problem?
How should I know? I don't exist, do I?
For anyone listening who hasn't seen the film, Juliet is walking out the door as she gives this response, and she's seemingly very unbothered. I think it should be noted that she never uses the word problem. She only says, you might want to send someone up there. It's Okwe who says, is there a problem? And yes, there absolutely is a problem. As Romeo said, a human organ is clogging the toilet. And as we see throughout the rest of the film, these characters face even more problems, but we also see that they can't speak out or speak on these problems because as people, they don't exist. And that's why Juliet responds to Okwe's question in the way that she does. She doesn't exist in this world, so she can't act in it or even make moral judgments. So we're told later that this heart ended up in the toilet because its donor died in the operation process, and while we never find out what happened to the rest of them, we do know that their heart remained. Somebody tried to flush this unseen person's heart away, and the heart just refused to go, to be sucked along into the system. And in doing so, this human heart, because Okwe is, very specific, he calls it a human heart. This heart stopped the flow of a circulation system and caused the toilet bowl, this dirty thing, to overflow. So even if you deny people a voice, even if you make it so someone like Juliet can't say, hey, there's a problem, you can't flush out all those problems. And going back to this theme of survival that's so prevalent in Dirty Pretty Things, Okwe says to Shania that he can't love her because for them, there's only survival. But as we see, they do love each other anyway, whether it be platonically or romantically, there is a very real care there. And I just think that adds sort of layer of optimism to the film, that the human heart is that one thing that, like, even if you deny someone of their existence, you can't get rid of it.
So guys, that brings us to the end of our discussion of survival and exploitation in Dirty Pretty Things. Thank you so much for listening.